Hey everybody, this is Jeremy. I just got my first dose of the Pfizer shot yesterday, so this is going to be a mellow intro. Welcome to Adapter Parish, episode 90, Wings of Desire and City of Angels. Yes, we're talking about a black and white German art house movie from the 80s, but we're also talking about Nick Cage, so this one comes highly recommended. But before we get into it, let's talk about our next episode. Since we started this show, there's been one property that Ariel has been pushing for, and I have flat out refused to do. Apparently, I needed to get through 90 episodes of this show before I could build up the strength to tackle Roald Dahl's The Witches. We read Dahl's original book, which terrified me as a child. We watched the 1990 movie starring Angelica Houston, which pretty much goddamn scarred me for life, and 2020's HBO Max original, directed by Robert Zemeckis and starring Anne Hathaway, which I never would have watched, but for this show. My wife made me do this, and I will be facing my fear in 2 weeks on Tuesday, May 4th. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections about today's episode or any others that you'd like to hear on the show, remember to email adapterparishcast@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, we'd love it if you would share that with the world by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. We're also on Patreon at patreon.com/adaptcast. We've got a patron-only community and our bi-weekly bonus show, Adapter Parish Plus, with episodes releasing every Tuesday between episodes of this show. We hope you check it out. Show notes from this and all other episodes can be found at adapterparishcast.com. And with that, on with the show, Adapter Parish, episode 90, Wings of Desire and City of Angels. Hello and welcome to Adapter Parish, a podcast about adaptation. I'm Jeremy Latour.
And I'm Ari Lipshaw, and we are doing Wings of Desire, City of Angels?
Yeah, we're doing, this is going to be, I'm just going to let's get right out in front of it.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough episode.
Why?
Because this is Wings of Desire is a weird movie to talk about.
It's a weird fucking movie.
Like, City of Angels is going to be an easy movie to talk about.
Also a weird fucking movie.
Yeah, a weird fucking movie, but like a weird fucking Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, as weird as it is, it's still Nick Cage and Meg Ryan. And I feel like... Because I understand everything.
It's from the only thing I knew about that movie up until now is that song is from this movie.
Yeah.
The end.
That's I joked about this in the intro to the last episode that like to me City of Angels has always just been the container for the Goo Goo Dolls song Iris.
Yes.
It's just a delivery method for that song.
Yes.
That's all I knew it. I just knew it from like the music video. And then I rewatched the music video and I don't know if there was this thing where like different cuts of music videos were made because I found the music video, but it's just what's his name? Rzeznik? Johnny Rzeznik?
Johnny Resnick.
I thought it was Rzeznik.
Resnick.
It's just Rzeznik?
Yes.
That's less entertaining to say than I thought it was.
I've been to a Goo Goo Dolls concert.
You sure have.
So I'm in a position to know.
I know very little about the Goo Goo Dolls other than the song Iris from the movie City of Angels.
Yeah.
But it's just anyway, the video is just Johnny Rzeznik sitting in a tower.
Okay, with his haircut.
Looking out telescopes.
Yeah.
Look with his haircut and his chin.
Well, something that we learned, I don't want to like spoil the plot here. Something that we learned about City of Angels is that it is a movie with very on the nose songs on the soundtrack.
It's ridiculous.
Because one of them is Iris, which is about the plot of the movie.
But it was written for the movie.
Yeah, it was written for the movie. One of them is Arms of the Angels by Sarah McLachlan.
Which was not written for the movie.
Which was not. And one of them, what was the one about like I'm grieving?
It was Peter Gabriel's song called, I think it's called I Grieve.
I Grieve.
I got to double check.
Because he's sad.
And so yeah, I'm curious to know what I found out.
So anyway, well, let's walk that back. Because we're not talking about that quite yet, because first we have to have our kibitz about how our week is going, and then we have to talk about a German movie called Wings of Desire.
Yes.
How's your
Der
week?
Himmel über Berlin.
How's your week going?
My week's going okay. This week fucking sucks.
What are you talking about? We got to get some shit out.
I don't know. Today was okay, so I was kind of thinking about today, but this week fucking sucks. Okay, so where do you start? Start us off.
Monday morning. We're planning for the week, and you have a plan, for your day, like how your day is going to go. And we took our child to his daycare where he goes during the day. And at 9:30 in the morning,
they care for him.
They called and they said, nope, take him home. We don't want him here.
He's no fun.
He's not fun. Well, that basically they did say that. They
His
said
jokes are terrible, and he smells, and his mother dresses him funny.
they said he's got a runny nose. He doesn't want to be here.
And to be fair,
He did.
we knew he had a runny nose. He had a runny nose all weekend, and only a runny nose. And we thought, well, it's not that runny, and kids have runny noses.
Yes.
And after 2 hours, they were like, we have wiped this kid's nose more times than we can count.
It is too runny.
It is too runny, and
It's
also
runnier than you like it.
we're in the middle of a pandemic. You shitty parents,
You got to take your kid.
you got to take your kid back
You got to take
because
your
he might
shitty,
have
snotty kid.
the COVID.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the COVID. You took him for a test, and he
I
doesn't
took him
have
for a
COVID.
test. He was so cute.
Yeah.
He was funny.
So he was home Monday and Tuesday, and we both work from home out of the house.
yes.
In theory, we work out of the house.
Yes.
How much work did we get done in the last 2 days?
None. And in retrospect, I should have just taken yesterday off. Just taken the whole day because he was so cute and funny, and I felt that I could not give him my full attention. But the other thing that happened yesterday was that the news this is going to place this squarely in time.
I do want to just keep talking about him for a second because I just want to get something out of the way. That if anyone is listening to the show who has I don't know, elementary or middle or high school age kids who for the last year have been trying to work out of the house with their kids home and don't have a daycare to send them to, and they're listening and going fuck you too. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
We've been very fortunate, and this is not the hardest thing that anyone has had to deal with, but it really blew up our week.
Yes. Well, because he's 18 months old and requires every second of our attention when he's awake. You cannot work with him awake or really even asleep.
A grumpy 18-month-old is a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
But I need to go back a month.
Okay.
So I made an appointment to get my vaccine.
Yes.
For later in April.
Yes.
And I knew it was going to be the Pfizer or the Moderna, the 2-shot. And what is it? It's Mod Squad or
P-Funk?
P-Funk. Yeah, P-Funk and Mod Squad. P-Funk or Mod Squad. I didn't know which one it was going to be. But then a whole bunch of appointments opened up for Team One and Done for Team Johnson & Johnson.
So I'm Team Johnson & Johnson because I got Johnson & Johnson last week, which we now know was a good time to get Johnson & Johnson because you can't get it now.
And by the time this episode comes out, who knows what's going on? All I know is
you
that
may be able to get it again by the time this episode comes out because everyone is saying this pause is probably only a couple days.
And I had a scheduled appointment to get the Johnson & Johnson shot this morning.
Today. So yesterday we woke up to this news that the thing had been pulled, and I was genuinely hysterical. A, because I was convinced I was going to die because I am in the risk group for the people that got the blood clots, even though it was literally 1 in a million. And I got it within the last 7 days. By the way, so interesting. I do recommend the one and done. It was great. I'm so happy I don't have to go back for another. But I was told that the side effects would not hit as hard as the others, that had been recorded, and I should have known based on my own history with getting vaccines. I get wiped out from a flu shot.
You get wiped out from talking about a flu shot.
I get wiped out from talking about a flu shot, and I got wiped out when I had to have my Tdap booster. So I should have known from my own history that I needed to take the day, the following day, and I did not. And so I woke up the next morning feeling okay, feeling I'm a little achy, I'm a little yucky, but this is gonna be fine. I can definitely sit in front of a computer and have Zoom calls today. And exactly 24 hours after getting the shot, it was basically I got hit by a train. I was 1 minute sitting up at the computer, and the next thing I knew, it was 2 hours later, and I was lying in a puddle of my own drool, which you had to come and rescue me from.
Yep.
I was you thought something was really wrong. I was I need help. And you were oh God.
I thought you pooped the bed.
Yeah.
I really thought you pooped the bed.
I didn't poop the bed. I've never woken up. I don't want to be too graphic about this.
What graphic? You drooled on your pillow a whole bunch.
It was so much. And I go to sleep every night. So I have experience with what sleeping is like. I've never woken up in a puddle of drool before. It was disgusting. So anyway,
wasn't that bad.
So anyway, that happened. And then the next day I was fine. It really only lasted half a day. So we were prepared for you to get the shot today and be knocked out tomorrow.
Nope.
In the meantime,
I feel great.
Our kid was sick over the weekend. And then Tuesday morning, literally 24 hours before you were supposed to get this shot, we woke up to the news that you would not be able to get this shot. Luckily, because you're a sneaky asshole, you still have your appointment to get Pfizer or Moderna next week through the health system.
I wasn't canceling that shit until I had a shot in my arm.
Yeah. So Jeremy's
Of course,
whole
I would
thing,
cancel it. Once I got the shot, I would cancel that to make
Right.
it available for someone else.
So Jeremy's whole thing just got pushed back a week, and now he has to do the full like 5-week thing instead of the one and done.
I'm real mad about it. Let's leave this subject behind because it's still too painful. Anyway, protect yourself, protect your family, protect your community. If you are medically able, please get vaccinated.
Yes.
Let's move on to this weird fucking German movie that I have heard about for years. Because you've heard of Wings of Desire, right?
Yes, from you
That's
wanting
it?
to do this episode.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I'd heard about this for years. It's just one of those movies that people talk about, and it's like on so many best foreign films and best films of the century and best romances, and like it is one of those movies that critics love and people in film love and love to talk about and is very inspirational to a lot of people. And I knew nothing about it. All I knew is that it was like, oh, it's like that movie City of Angels, which is based on it. And we watched Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire, which original title, Der Himmel über Berlin, The Sky Over Berlin, which came out in 1987. It was like a German-French co-production. Look, I want to get into who made it, and we'll talk about watching it, and we'll talk about who's in it, and talk about some interesting facts about it. This is a hard movie to talk about, though, because this is going to be a dumb thing to say. So let me say it, and then we can kind of unpack it a little bit.
Yeah.
This, unlike all the other stuff we watch, unlike all the other bullshit we talk about on this show, this is art.
Yeah.
Like art with a capital A. Like this is not interested in the kinds of things we normally talk about on the show.
Yeah.
So like we talk about storytelling on the show, and we talk about character development and character motivation, things that I think both of us are very interested in and very passionate about. And this is one of those movies that just kind of looks at those things and goes, well, no, I understand what those are, but that's not what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, not only is it art, yes, it is art created in a language that we do not speak in a cultural context of which we are unfamiliar.
Peter Falk's in it, and that's some cultural context and language we understand.
That's fair. I mean, so like I literally my only note on this film, because I was like, I don't know how to fucking talk about this is a hard movie to subtitle, because the whole thing is like this. So the main character is an angel. He can hear people's thoughts.
Hang on, before you say any of that,
Yeah.
I want to say one quick thing.
Yeah.
I know I say this a lot. This is one of those movies where we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about all of it. We're also going to do that with City of Angels. If you haven't seen City of Angels, I don't think our conversation about it is going to ruin the experience of watching City of Angels for you.
Let's hope.
But like Wings of Desire, if you have any interest in watching it, I think I would watch it before you hear us talk about it.
If you are interested in coming to it like pure of heart, like not having been like set against it or for it by us two jerks and idiots, yeah, definitely watch it before you listen to this.
And I think I kind of loved it.
Yeah, it was enjoyable, but we're probably gonna like say some stuff about it. So like you can go away and watch it. It's fine.
And then come back and listen. And
Okay.
I assume you're back. Welcome back.
So-
Or if you did not care to do that or
Then
had already seen it,
welcome
we're glad
to stay.
you're still with us.
So as I had mentioned 10 seconds ago, the main character is an angel. He can hear people's thoughts. So he's living in sort of this atmosphere of sound wherein people are thinking things and he is hearing them, and it's just sort of this buzz, 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 and you hear people's voices.
Watermelon.
This is difficult to subtitle. So with the subtitles, we're only understanding sort of one thing at a time, but we can hear that there's more going on. Like it's kind of like you hear a translation and someone like says a paragraph, and then the translator comes on and says like, he said hello. And you're like, clearly there's some context here that I'm missing, because that person spoke for a long time.
I feel like that's never been done better. That remember in Lost in Translation when Bill Murray is shooting the whiskey commercial?
Uh-huh.
And that happens, the director is giving him all of the direction.
Yeah,
And the translator comes up and she says, put your hand up in the air. And he says, are you sure? I'm pretty sure you wanted me to do more than that.
The thing that I always think of, this is a deep cut. It's a Doonesbury comic strip when Duke is in China, and he's like going on and like making this like ridiculous joke, and his translator is like, he is about to make a joke. The joke has been made. He will expect you to laugh at it. And the audience goes, ha 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 ha.
I actually remember that.
Yeah.
one. That's a very good one.
Did I describe that comic strip
You
from the
described it
70s like pretty
beautifully.
well? Thank you.
We had the same Doonesbury collection.
Yeah.
Because didn't you have like the one Doonesbury collection you read a million times?
Yeah, my dad had two of them. There was
Yeah.
the original Doonesbury that had like the blue cover, and then he had the Doonesbury Chronicle or whatever that had
like
the
brown?
the black cover.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it does not matter.
I love Doonesbury.
I love Doonesbury too.
I love you.
I know. I love you too.
Okay.
Do you want to keep talking about this weird ass movie?
Well, let's try to talk about the plot.
Okay.
Because
there's not a plot. So
well, no, there is. There is a plot. Do you want to do it, or would you like me to do it?
okay, how about I do it? How about I do it like the short version, and then you can like expand on it in what way seems best to you.
Sure.
Okay. So there's this angel. He's played by Hitler.
That's not relevant.
He's played by Bruno Ganz, literally Hitler. Just recently died by all accounts, like a sweet guy, I have heard.
He's making a second appearance on the show.
Yeah, that's right.
He's in
He was in
Nosferatu.
And so he is an angel. We are led to understand. I mean, they don't really ever use the word angel.
He has wings.
But he has wings, so he's an angel.
Once. He has wings once. You see them once.
And he hangs out with his angel friend and all of their angel buddies. And basically the whole thing is like they do not understand. They know a lot about the human experience, and they're like with people all the time, and they like love to listen to their thoughts, and they just like sort of sit with them when they're in turmoil, but they don't understand physical sensation at all.
Yeah.
Like touch, eating, drinking, like anything around like the wind in your face, like anything around like the physicality of things touching your body, they do not understand.
Well, there's like one scene where they kind of give you an idea that, oh, these angels have a job, and their job seems to be chronicling human life. So his name is Damiel, and his buddy's name is Cassiel, and they're like sitting in a car together, comparing notes for all the different things that they've
just,
witnessed
like,
and kept track of.
Yeah, just interesting things they saw, like interesting things in the human experience, and like sometimes they'll say like, I think this person might have seen me, but you know, I don't know. Like she maybe sensed my presence. But they all hang out in a library together for reasons.
Among many other
places.
Well, this is all in West Berlin, by the way.
Yeah, and they just sort of wander around the city. We see, and this is West Berlin when the Berlin Wall was still a thing. So like you see it. It's in the movie. Like they're wandering around. There is really nothing, and I just want to like lay the foundation for this because this is going to change when we get to City of Angels. There is nothing about death. They do not like escort people into death. They are not dead humans who like used to be alive and now are dead. There's nothing really about God. It's not
God
like,
is mentioned like in an abstract way, like once or twice, maybe.
Yeah. But it's not like religious angels in the way that I guess we might tend to think of them. And again, I don't know if that's
touched by an angel.
No, and I don't know how cultural that is to like West Germany theology, or just like this Wim Wenders, like his own thing, like wanted to make this movie. I do not know.
I think he just made it the way he wanted to make it. It turns out like he's actually pretty religious himself. But no, that wasn't his. That doesn't appear to be his mission. And that's like the first thing that I've said about trying to interpret what Wenders' intentions were with this movie. I'm going to say a lot of things around that, but most of what I'm going to say is more about there doesn't seem to be any evidence that he wanted to do X. So maybe it was Y. But it's not like there's, oh no, he said it's this and is therefore this, or he said it was this and it is therefore this.
Yeah. So anyway, our friend the angel, just in his wanderings, meets two important people. One of them is Columbo, Peter Falk as himself. The other one is a beautiful trapeze artist. And the trapeze artist he is strongly drawn to and feels that he has fallen in love with her and would like to leave the angel realm to be with her. And Peter Falk, we find out, used to be on the angel side and chose to live amongst the humans and fall to earth and become an actor.
And I'm telling you, for those of you that thought, I won't go watch it first, I'll listen to them talk about it, we just ruined like one of the most beautiful and delightful parts of the movie.
Yes.
And we told you we were going to do it.
Yes.
And lo and you have.
So long story short, he gets some good advice from Peter Falk about how to not be an angel anymore. And he goes to his friend and he's like, I'm going to do this. And his friend's like, I support you. And he becomes human and he goes and finds the trapeze artist and she is into it. And they were given to understand kind of live happily ever after.
They do. There's actually, did you know there's a sequel?
No.
There's a sequel called Far Away, So Close. It's actually with an exclamation mark. So it's Far Away, So Close. And it's all about Cassiel. It's all about the other angel who also becomes human.
Ah,
He becomes human after the wall has fallen.
I see.
So it's like 93, something like
Sure,
that.
sure, sure.
And whereas his friend, but Bruno Ganz so Bruno Ganz plays Damiel, Solveig Domartin plays Marion, the trapeze artist, and Otto Sander plays Cassiel. The two of them appear in Far Away and So Close, and yes, they have had they've had their happily ever after.
Mhm.
Like they're still together and they're happy. I think she's having a baby. I can't remember because we didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But unlike Damiel, Cassiel doesn't like find a lady and settle down. Instead, he turns to a life of crime.
Good.
Apparently, it was like critically well received, but it was nowhere near the like runaway hit in the like relatively runaway hit that Wings of Desire was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to like, for those of you who are like, that plot seems light on plot, I just want to emphasize like how atmospheric watching this movie is. It is just a lot of wandering around Berlin in black and white and listening to people think. And frankly, like for the week that we were having, it was perfect.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable, but I think you sort of have to be in the right frame of mind. Like, because if you go into it expecting, like, I don't know, Touched by an Angel, that is not what you're going to get.
If you're expecting Michael,
Yeah,
you're not getting that.
Michael's a excellent film, which I saw in the theater.
I also saw Michael in the theater.
Yeah.
I love Michael. It was my second favorite. No, I preferred Michael to Phenomenon.
Yeah.
I just remember those two.
Oh no, I saw both of those in the theater,
Yeah.
like no doubt. I guess I would just say, like, again, you sort of have to know what you're getting into, but there's nothing like, and again, the reason I'm setting this as a foundation is there are some things I want to talk about with City of Angels. There's nothing like upsetting or disturbing in it. There's no like people dying and the angels having to save them or like anything.
I would disagree a little bit.
Would you?
Well, so first of all, there's the guy that throws himself off the building.
Yeah.
That's really upsetting.
That's upsetting.
And like Cassiel is with him, and Cassiel experiences like what looks like physical pain when the guy does it.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty awful to watch. There's when Damiel finds the guy who dies in the motorcycle accident
Yeah.
on the street.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's pretty fucked up. But to your earlier point, they're not like shepherding them across.
They're not shepherding.
the threshold.
It's just other points of human experience.
Yeah.
It's just they're not like affected by it in like this is my job to like take people to the other side. It's more like this is something that happened. Just like lots of things happen, and I'm here to observe.
And thematically, there's also an undercurrent that's happening. Can I bring it back to Peter Falk for a
Yeah.
second? Because there's kind of a big subplot, if you can call it that, that's happening through the movie, which is that Peter Falk has come to Berlin to shoot a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he's Peter Falk. He's credited as Der Filmstar.
Der Filmstar.
And he's there to shoot a movie that takes place during the Holocaust.
Right.
That takes place during World War II. So constantly through the movie, you're going to the film set and you're seeing people dressed as Nazis and dressed as Jews with their stars on them. And Peter Falk is there, but they're shooting a movie. So there's this kind of thematic example of people kind of chronicling existence, chronicling what the things that happen in Berlin. And they're kind of doing what the angels do.
Yeah.
And of course, we find out that Peter Falk is also an ex-angel.
An ex-angel.
So he's part of that as well. But it's not like that's hugely important that there's a thematic parallel between the two things. I find it interesting that there's a thematic parallel. But honestly, when it comes to the film shoot, most of it is taken up by one of three things. One, we see stuntmen kind of practicing their stunts pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
Two, Peter Falk likes drawing people, so he like draws a lady.
Yeah.
And three, Peter Falk needs to find the perfect hat for his character to wear.
Yes,
he does. He spends a long time trying to find the perfect hat.
Need to do that.
So it's not like he's standing there going like, we are chronicling the past just as I did when I myself was an angel. What? You're asking me what I just said? Don't worry about it. It's totally fine.
And I feel like I had this thought that like, because in the movie, like someone says like, oh, it's Columbo. Like he's Peter Falk. That's who he's playing, like an actor who played Columbo. And so I had this like thing. So all the angels wear overcoats. So I was like, wait, so are they saying that like Peter Falk, when he played Columbo, wore an overcoat because he was an angel, and so all the angels are wearing overcoats just like Columbo? And you were like, no.
This is the perfect segue to something, which is I love looking at Wikipedia, not because I feel like Wikipedia is this beautiful font of information, even though I think it kind of is, but it is interesting to see what people choose to put on a Wikipedia page. So, for example, we have watched movies in the past for this show that have very limited Wikipedia entries. And because all there is to talk about is who made it, how they made it, when they made it, what did people say about it. That's like if you look at a movie Wikipedia page, that's what it says. But then there are the ones that are about movies that make you think, and people have things to say about them. And those do go on. And this is one of those movies where lots of people have lots of things to say about the philosophy and the theology and the imagery and the artistry of Wings of Desire.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's pretty much true about all of it is sure, okay, maybe, but like Wim Wenders has never said that any of those things are true. So it's nice that the movie made you think of this. Like, thinking about the relationship of angels to humanity, or like people's relationship to God in the 1980s, like whatever thing you want to choose that the movie represents to you, that's totally fine. And you can look at the movie through that lens. But like, there doesn't seem to be much evidence that a lot of that stuff was actually in the movie or in Wenders' head. So, for example, the trench coats. It would be really tempting to look at a movie like this and try to pick it apart and find meaning in the imagery, because the imagery is very, very specific. Would you agree this movie is very deliberate?
I would.
The trench coats were something they kind of figured out on the set. Like, they started the movie, they did not have a script when they started the movie. Wenders knew he wanted to make a movie about Berlin. The angels thing got added later as he was planning. He was reading a lot of Rainer Maria Rilke, and Rilke's poetry has a lot of angels in it. And he thought, well, German poet, lots of angels. Oh, angels, that could be something. Okay, angels are watching people. And, he found Bruno Ganz and Otto Sander, and Solveig Do Martin was his girlfriend. And they just kind of figured everything out as they went. They started shooting with no script. They hadn't even figured out what the costumes were going to be when they started shooting. And after trying a few different things, the trench coats just seemed to work. So they stuck with the trench coats. They had already started shooting before they thought Peter Falk should be in this. Like, Peter Falk's character and the trench coats kind of happened at the same time for two different reasons.
Did they just call him and say, like, hey, do you want to come to Berlin? And he was like, yeah.
Literally, that's it. I wish I could find something about who other people were that they thought about. I think they just wanted to find someone that was like universally known.
Yeah.
And in 1987, Columbo is pretty universally known.
Yeah.
Obviously, that would all change a year later when he appeared in The Princess Bride,
Sure.
becoming by far the thing he was most famous for.
Obviously.
Definitely not Columbo.
Yeah. At one point, you turned to me and you were like, is Bruno Ganz handsome?
That was an important question I needed answered.
And I
moment.
said, I got to think about it. And I think the answer I came back with was not really, but he has a very interesting face. And the only part I didn't really like or care for was at the very end, because he's like helping the girl with Marion with her trapeze routine, and he's got his like sleeves rolled up and his arms were all like muscly but also really scrawny, and I didn't like that. I found that very unattractive, so it kind of ruined like his like mysterious character. But the part where he needs to get some clothes, so he goes into like a thrift shop, and like suddenly everything's in color now too, that he's like not an angel anymore.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about the color thing, but sure, go ahead.
And he just comes out in this like ridiculous outfit, and we were like, it's Berlin in the 80s, so I'm not sure. Is he supposed to look ridiculous?
Can I describe it?
Is this the fashion? Yeah, go ahead.
So before, when he's an angel, he has like all the angels all of them have ponytails. Even if their hair's kind of short, they have at least like a short little ponytail. And they wear overcoats with like big scarves.
Yeah.
And they look pretty comfortable. And then when he's a human, as you say, he goes in and to a thrift store and he buys some clothes. And what he buys is an ill-fitting suit, a fedora, and I don't know how to describe this jacket.
Sort of an Argyle jacket, but it's like bright blue and red, and it's like different textures.
Like what I imagine like if a high school was putting on a production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and they were in a thrift shop and found this coat, someone would suggest using it.
Yeah.
I don't know that they would use it, but someone would suggest it.
I think they would use it for guys and dolls.
Okay, sure. He looks fucking weird is what I'm saying.
Weird.
And I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if this was supposed to look good on him or not.
Yeah.
My inkling is it is not.
No,
I think it's supposed to be a little silly.
I think it's supposed to be silly. So I feel like our conversation is very meandering, because I think the movie's kind of meandering. So like I'm just kind of like, well, what do we want to talk about next? But I think you have more that you like learned that you want to talk about?
I have a few pieces of information that I think are very interesting.
Okay.
One, let's kind of running through everyone. Solveig Doe Martin, as I said, she was Wim Wenders' girlfriend at the
Mhm.
time. This was a question we had when we were watching the movie because she is a trapeze artist, and I said to you, how do you cast for that? How
And
do
I
you
s-
cast for trapeze?
Yeah, and I said incorrectly, as it turns out, oh, I mean, there's like casting agencies that you can go to find people that can do weird shit. Like you can go to a casting agency and say, I need someone that knows how to do trapeze, and they will find you someone. It turns out that was not what they did for this film.
Yeah, so not only was this Solveig Doe Martin's first film role ever, this is the first time she ever did trapeze in anything because she didn't know how to do trapeze until she started to learn 8 weeks before the movie shot, and then she knew how to do trapeze.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
To be fair,
and
she
so impressive.
Yeah, it's really impressive. She never does anything. I don't mean to take away from her accomplishment.
No, I know what you
But
mean.
she doesn't do any of the swinging trapeze. She never does the thing where you're like swinging from one to the other and someone has to catch you. Like I feel like you can't learn that in 8 weeks probably.
No.
She just does a lot of sort of like contortion,
Acrobatics kinda
acrobatics.
thing.
Yeah, which if you're a reasonably fit person and you do yoga and stuff, you could probably figure it out in 8 weeks. But again, not to take away from her accomplishment.
No.
Yeah.
But that I found fascinating. There is a character in this that we haven't talked about who is Homer the old poet.
Yes.
This old man is just a man they see at the library, and Damiel never follows him around, but Cassiel does. And Cassiel kind of establishes as far as the viewer is concerned, Cassiel kind of establishes a little relationship with this guy, and he's just an old man. And we'll talk about the writing in a second of people's thoughts because it's kind of specific the way everybody sounds. This man was played by an actor named Kurt Bois, and both Bruno Ganz and Otto Sander had worked with him before, and they said to Wim Wenders, hey, you got to cast this guy
Mm-hmm.
because he's been an actor. He was a child actor, and now he is, I think, 1,000,000 years old. And I found out afterwards that this man is in a movie that you have seen and love.
He's Vulture's guy from Casablanca, right?
Yeah.
Vultures everywhere?
He's that guy.
Yeah.
Some of you know who we're talking about, and it's delightful because this is like 40-something years later, and the man is, again, a million.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. Let's talk about the dialogue for a second. So I didn't even really talk about Wim Wenders. He's one of those ridiculous people that just wants to do everything and also seems like a super nice, chill guy.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't people let him do whatever he wants?
Can I confess a dark secret?
Sure.
I get him mixed up with Werner Herzog.
I mean, as an American, whose first love is not film,
Yeah.
I think you'd be forgiven.
Okay.
I think that's okay. But like Werner Herzog, he doesn't limit himself to one type of film.
Uh-huh.
So he has gone back and forth between fiction and documentary.
Gotcha.
So for example, probably I would say Wings of Desire is probably his most well-known like narrative movie,
Mhm.
but he also did Paris, Texas. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I think so.
Paris, Texas is very, very good. He did that. Sam Shepard wrote it.
Oh, okay.
But he also directed Buena Vista Social Club
Mhm.
and lots of documentaries, and he directs music videos, and he just kind of directs. He likes being behind a camera.
Sure.
Doesn't really matter what they're shooting. He's like, well, whatever I am.
I am Wim Wenders.
Whatever I am. I'm going to try to do, because I feel like Werner Herzog is more of the, I was looking into the heart of the world, and it told me that life is death.
You must never listen to this. You must destroy it. And
You must destroy this tape. You must
This
never listen to
tape.
it. You must. You've gone Australian. That's not a grizzly. This is a grizzly. Grizzly Man is the best movie ever made.
Okay. It is not.
It's so fucking good. I love it so much. But no, Wim Wenders is definitely more. He's much more soft spoken. I wanted to make it about Berlin, and like I could listen to this guy for hours. I could go to bed every single night listening to Wim Wenders
and
whispering in
probably
my ear.
shall, because that is sort of what you do.
I like ASMR. It's the thing. But like filmmaker, playwright, author, photographer, artist,
A
like,
Renaissance man.
truly interesting fucking guy. So when he was making this movie, he talked to a writer friend of his, a guy named Peter Handke, and said, "I want to make this movie. I want you to write it." And Peter Handke said, "No." He's
Nine?
an Austrian guy.
Oh,
And
do you say 9?
I mean, if you're Austrian, I think you would still say 9.
Yeah.
But he said no. And then they talked about it more, and he said, okay, well, I have some ideas. And so he wrote down a bunch of things, and he just kind of came up with this very poetic, lyrical quality to all of the thoughts that were going on in people's heads. And then told Wim Wenders, like, don't use any of it. It's crap. And then
9.
they ended up using all of it anyway.
Yeah.
So he just had this weird relationship with it. So it's really, I watched all of this. Criterion did an edition of it. And so they have these great behind the scenes features. And I got to watch all these interviews with Wim Wenders and Peter Henke and Bruno Gans. And unfortunately, not Solveig Domartin. Super, super sad. She died in 2007 of a heart attack at 45.
Oh, God.
How sad is that?
That's very sad. Very, very sad.
Super sad.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But someone else that was interviewed constantly for it was a guy named Brad Silberling, who directed City of Angels.
Oh, God.
Which is going to come up later.
It is going to come up later. It's a good chunk of this program.
Very, very specifically. Peter Henke was one of the weirdest guys to ever see in one of these things, because usually when you see a writer talking about their movie, they're like, I wanted to do this and I wanted to do this and this was important and then this change was made. Peter Henke was just going like, I didn't want to do it. And then I said I didn't want to do it. And they did it anyway. And I guess,
It's fine.
what? You know what? It's good. I think it's good.
Good job.
It's just a fascinating one. So anyway, the music is incredible in it. The score is very by two people, Jürgen Nieper and Laurent Petitgand, and it's really good. The cinematography, Wim Wenders said, I want this to be photographed by one man, Henri Alecan, who is retired. I go to him and I say, hey, I'm making this movie about angels in Berlin. And he says, you son of a bitch, I'm in. And he comes out of retirement to shoot this movie. And remember the circus?
Yeah.
It was the Circus Alecan. It was named after the cinematographer.
I was wondering why that sounded so familiar.
They're just kind of making up all this shit as they go.
He's making it up as he goes along.
The Peter Falk thing just blows my mind. One aspect of it is that, I mean, you already mentioned the fact that like people walk past him in the movie and go, was that Columbo?
Yeah.
Which is super funny. Yes, he's an angel. Every time you hear Peter Falk's thoughts, he had originally recorded a whole set of this like internal monologue. And as they were editing, they thought, you know what, it doesn't work. So they called Peter up in LA and said, go to a recording studio. We need you to re-record it. Wim Wenders calls him. And he's describing this, which is great. He says, so he calls me and he says, you gotta redo this. And I say, okay, well, you're going to send me the new script? And he says to me, no, there's no script. Do whatever you want. I'm sure it'll be fine. So he goes into a recording studio. Every single thought you hear in the movie from Peter Falk's head, Peter Falk was just making up.
Oh, my God.
On the day. Like, it's just so weird to watch a movie that so many people are trying to derive meaning from.
Yeah.
And Wenders was just making it up as he goes along, flying by the seat of his pants, and using his artistic intuition to say, this is what I think makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this because to me it feels like it should be in the movie. And I bet you could point at a lot of movies where that was what the director tried to do and it didn't work.
Yeah.
This happens to be one of the ones where it all did work.
Yeah. I mean, it did make me want to go back to Berlin and have some currywurst, because they spend a lot of time at this like food truck getting coffee, but the food truck also sells currywurst. And I don't know if currywurst is just like a general German thing or specifically a Berlin thing, but it's so good. It's like hot dogs in curry sauce.
It sounds amazing.
It's so good. It was like the one authentically German thing that I got to do when I was in Berlin, because I was there for like a conference thing and literally never left the hotel except the one night that I snuck out and went to like an Aldi and, and like bought some groceries. But we did get to have currywurst one night. It was delicious.
Mm-hmm. I got 3 more quick things.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's totally fine. One, it kind of goes along with the Peter Falk thing, and this is one of those delightful things that I think kind of proves that trying to interpret it is folly. Because at one point, I don't know if you remember this, Peter Falk, in his thoughts, is talking about his grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
What about that doesn't make sense?
I don't know.
Peter Falk's an angel. How does he have a grandmother?
I mean, maybe he made up a grandmother.
And Wenders talked about this, and he was just like, you know what? The line was so good, we left it in,
There you go.
even though it kind of contradicts everything we end up saying in the movie.
I mean, I feel like if you're a fallen angel, you should probably like make up a family.
Yeah, but he's thinking to himself about this person.
That's fair.
He's not talking to anyone about her.
Listen, it's fair.
I just think it's a beautiful thing that kind of shows, don't read into it too much. This movie is an experience. Just experience it. We didn't talk about Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds at all.
Oh, yeah, they're in the movie.
They were based out of Berlin at this time.
Yeah.
And apparently Herzog was like, if I'm making a movie about Berlin in 1987, I have to have Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds in it.
Mm-hmm.
So like Marion is listening to them in her circus trailer at one point.
And then they're in the movie.
And then they show up in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's real cool.
Yeah. Well, there's another band
Wenders, not Herzog.
that you were like, wait, is it is it Nick Cave? Because she was listening to Nick Cave before, and then they panned to him, and you were like, that's not Nick Cave. And I was like, okay. And then she
No,
goes to a
no, no. You
different, I
said
said, maybe it is. And
maybe it is, and I said no, it's not
no,
Nick
it's
Cave.
not.
And you
And
said,
then,
what does Nick Cave look like? And I said, he's got scrawny and long hair. And you
And I
said,
was
well,
like-
that man is scrawny and long hair. And I
So
said, yeah, but I know what Nick Cave looks like.
but then they went to another concert, and it was Nick Cave.
Yeah,
It really was.
super fun.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one last thing, and
Okay.
then we can move on to City of Angels.
Fantastic.
Let's talk about the color.
It's mostly not.
Yeah, mostly not. I thought the entire thing was in black and white, but then suddenly there's like one moment that's in color. I thought something was wrong at first, even though that's not how.
Well, it's not how any of that
anything
would
works.
ever work. Like, oh, suddenly it's in color. Like, oh, Casablanca has become colorized. There's a problem.
But it happens more and more, and like, here's my interpretation, and this seems to be everyone's interpretation. You can tell me if you disagree with it. When you are seeing something that isn't from the angel's perspective, it is in color. When you are seeing something that is from the angel's perspective, it's in black and white.
Sure. Or after he's not an angel anymore, right? It's in color.
Right, because he's not an angel
Because he
anymore.
can see color now. Remember, his like hand is bleeding, and he's like, "Is it red?" Oh my god, this scene where he runs into that guy like down by the Berlin Wall, and that guy is so nice to him. Like, if you ran into like some like wandering guy who was like, "My hand, is this blood?"
My head is bleeding. I have blood on my hand. It tastes. It actually has a taste
has
to
a
it.
taste. You would like run away screaming, but this guy's like, "No, that's blood." Yeah, no, this is the, and he's like pointing to different colors on the walls, and he's saying like, what color is that? What color is that? Like, just like we do with our little kid. And then finally he's like, I think I'd like a cup of coffee. And this stranger is like, okay, here, can I give you like $1?
No, he
like,
asks him. He says like, "Yeah, you can get coffee. Do you have any money?" And he goes,
yes.
"No." He says,
yes.
"Yes."
No.
No, I don't. And the guy's like, "Okay, well, here's some money."
Here's some money. He's so nice. The sweetest guy. Anyway, but yes, he sees color for the first time.
And then the whole rest of the movie's in color, but there's these, it's just so shocking. I feel like the movie does one thing really, really well. At least it did it for me. I can't say that it does it for everyone. I even brought this up to you while we were watching it. Like, the movie constantly was shocking me out of whatever train of thought I was in at any given time.
Mhm.
Like, I was thinking the movie was one thing. One thing that really did that to me, and I'll come back to the color in a second, was how much the angels touch people. Because people can't see them or hear them or sense them in any way, the angels get really, really up close and personal with people.
Yeah.
There's like this one beautiful shot where Damiel is in an ambulance going to the hospital, and this woman is going to give birth. And so she's pregnant, and she's with her husband, and he is like with the two of them, and his hand is on her stomach.
Uh-huh.
And that's an intensely personal thing to be a part of.
Sure.
But he's right there in it, and they're constantly touching people. They're always touching people and always getting up close with people. It made me super uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
Not in a bad way,
Yeah.
but it made me think really critically about what I was seeing. Because if I was feeling a certain way, I would see this and it would shock me out of whatever that kind of, like, if I was feeling very soothed and relaxed because of what was going on, I was taken out of that by how deeply personal these angels were getting
Yeah.
and how uncomfortable it was making me. And I felt like the color was kind of like that too. I would be going along and saying like, I know what this movie is. I know what this movie is. I don't know what this movie is.
Yeah.
Because it would do a thing that would shock me out of that.
Yeah.
And that to me felt intentional.
Yep.
As most of this movie feels very, I expected this something very like dreamlike and impressionistic, but it's not that at all. It's a very, very specific movie where he's very like, I've set up the camera here, I pointed here. The actors just say the lines. That is the scene. It's just that the scene is two angels on an abandoned bridge talking about something they witnessed 2,000 years ago.
Sure.
The content of the scene, what people are talking about, is weird, but like the actual scene itself is very straightforward.
Yeah.
I think I loved this movie.
It was okay. It was not bad.
I know you didn't like the kiss.
It's not. We'll get into it. Let's talk about City of Angels, and we'll get into me not liking kissing.
This is a fun movie.
Yeah.
Wings of Desire was.
Yes.
City of Angels, a different movie.
This is not what I expected at all. Like, because I was as we were watching Wings of Desire, I was like, they made this into like a Nick Cage, Meg Ryan romantic comedy.
That was one of my notes. They made a Nicolas Cage movie out of this?
Yeah. And it certainly was not a romantic comedy. I guess I always thought that it was. I just didn't really understand what it was that I was about to witness.
I always got the impression that it was this very like overwrought romance kind of thing. Like The Notebook or something
I don't know
like
why
that.
I was under that impression. But I got very angry at you in the first 5 minutes of this movie because it was a fucking bummer. And
I'm very sorry. I didn't
immediately
know.
establish this idea that no, these angels are death angels, and their literal job is to like witness and like escort people from this world. The first scene in the movie is like a little kid very sick and then eventually dies again within the first 5 minutes, and I was like, what are you making me watch? I'm so upset. Like, I don't want to watch this. Like, I found it very upsetting. And you were like,
There was a shrug.
yeah.
That was a shrug. I don't know if that came across. I don't know if people were like, he opened a door slowly.
And then you were like, look, it's Raymond Holt. It's Raymond Holt. Forget all about that nasty child dying stuff. You tried to distract me.
Can I talk about the making of this movie?
Yeah.
Let's back up for a second.
Okay.
So when Wings of Desire came out, there's a producing partner, Dawn Steele and her husband, Charles Roven. They saw this movie, and Dawn Steele said, you know what? I think there's another movie in this idea. And she spent years trying to get it produced. And then finally it actually happened. She actually died right before the movie was released.
I noticed that the credits said like for Dawn.
Yeah, so that was Dawn Steele, the producer. It was directed by Brad Silberling. He directed a number of things I feel like you've probably heard of. Remember Casper?
Yeah.
With Christina Ricci?
Yeah.
Brad Silberling. Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events.
There it is.
Not the Netflix show, the Jim Carrey movie.
Uh-huh.
This is the fucked up one. Do you remember the movie Miracle Mile?
No, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was inspired by, okay, I want to be clear. I know that what I'm about to say is a goddamn fucking bummer, and I don't want our whole conversation to turn into just talking about this thing.
Okay.
But as we talk about the end of the movie, it might, I don't know, I feel like it's relevant. In 1989, Brad Silberling was dating an actor named Rebecca Schaefer.
Oh, I know who Rebecca Schaefer is.
Yeah, what happened to Rebecca Schaefer?
She was murdered by a stalker.
Brad Silberling was her boyfriend.
Good.
So he lost his girlfriend to a sudden death.
Yes.
And I feel like that's somehow relevant. He found love later, though. He ended up getting together with Amy Brenneman.
Oh, Judging Amy?
Yeah, Judging Amy.
Judging Amy.
Which makes a lot of sense because at one point in this movie, when they're in the library and they're going past all these angels, I lean over to her like, is that Judging Amy?
She's just in there.
Just plays an angel.
Yeah, why not?
No lines. She's just in one shot as an angel.
That's crazy that he was Rebecca Schaefer's boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I didn't know anything about that.
You
It doesn't surprise me that you know about that.
You should read The Gift of Fear. It's like a case study in The Gift of Fear.
Is it?
Yes, it is. The end.
Cool. Written by Dana Stevens. Nicolas Cage plays not Damiel, he plays Seth.
Seth.
Which I feel like is just in terms of names, that's kind of trading down.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have come up with something. But yeah, Andre Brower, sincerely Captain Raymond Holt, himself plays Cassiel, the other angel. There's a lot of TV detectives in this movie. Like,
I mean,
Amy Brenneman was on NYPD Blue for one
Sure.
thing. Andre Brower was in Homicide: Life on the Streets. During one of his breaks on the show, he shot this movie.
Okay.
Also, we have Dennis Franz.
This is witty. This is witty casting.
I agree.
Yeah. Because he's playing the Columbo part, essentially.
He plays Nathaniel Messenger, the
Yeah.
ex-angel. And of course, like as you say, Peter Falk, famous TV detective. If you're going to get a guy to play the character in the new movie, get famous TV detective Sipowicz.
Yeah, there you go.
Sipowicz himself, Dennis Franz from NYPD Blue.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I hope that they knew what they were doing. I hope it was intentional, because if it was, that's really funny. If it's not, it's still okay.
It might not be, because the rest of the movie's not very good. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. So as you say, the movie starts with the kid dying.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
And we learn that Seth is there to escort her to the other side. And they have a very, very, very upsetting conversation about how she has to go away from mommy and mommy can't be with her. And it's very upsetting. I didn't like it.
Our child was sick in the other room.
So then these angels are observation angels. We see them doing kind of the same thing. Like they're just hanging out in LA because Los Angeles is the city of angels.
I just got that.
Which is the title of the movie.
I'm kidding. I got that in 1998.
Doing their thing, like observing people, hanging out, but they also have clearly a task, which is to escort people from this life to the next.
Do you have a feeling that like between 1987 and 1998, all the angels went to God and said, hey, we feel like we could we feel like we could be doing more.
Yeah,
Can you give us a little extra responsibility?
like God is their boss. Like
Yeah.
God is textually their boss in this film. And so like if someone's being operated on or like something is happening, like by God an angel is there just in case, they need to be taken up.
I feel like it's never clear whether they're there because they know the person is going to die,
or
or they're
just in
there
case.
just in case.
I feel like sometimes it's just in case. So we meet Nick Cage, and the reason we meet him is he is there to escort this poor man who is dying on an operating table at the hands of his cardiac surgeon, Meg Ryan.
He's not dying at the hands of his cardiac surgeon. She's trying to save his life.
Who's doing her level best.
He's dying at the hands of his fucked up heart that is killing him.
Who is doing her level best to save his life, and we are given to understand she's a very talented surgeon. Not so good with the family, like breaking the news of a death. She does so many things wrong, so she's not very good, like on the human side, with patients.
Yeah.
But she's good at like operating, and she is a doctor in this hospital, and she's Meg Ryan, and she has this sort of boyfriend that we were never quite sure throughout the movie if it was established that he was her boyfriend or he just thought he was her boyfriend.
He wanted to be her boyfriend.
He wanted to be her boyfriend.
He wants to be her husband.
But she said no, and she's like trying to save this guy's life, and she looks up, and Nick Cage thinks that she's like made eye contact with him,
even though there's clearly a nurse standing behind him.
Yeah, he becomes kind of obsessed with her and starts like sort of following her and like seeing what's going on in her life, and she's like very discontented, and she doesn't really know like what her next move is going to be. And so he can reveal himself to her, like he can become visible to her without not being an angel. So he kind of like intrudes himself into her life, but doesn't obviously say, hey, I'm an angel. And then she's also treating Dennis Franz, who is the former angel who has this heart condition. So Dennis Franz is explaining to Nick Cage that it's possible for him to not be an angel anymore if he wants to. Whereas in Wings of Desire, I think it seemed like it was just like something that people knew, like the angels knew, like if you wanted to not be an angel anymore, like that was a choice you could make. But in this case, it's like we have to go through this whole thing of Dennis Franz like explaining exactly like the choices that you would have to make and what you would have to do, and like it's a lot of explanation.
This speaks to like my biggest anticipation for this movie, because the entire time we're watching Wings of Desire, I know we're watching and I know that City of Angels got made, but I'd never seen it, so I could only make assumptions. And I'm watching this going like, okay, I don't want to wonder what I would do, but what would a Hollywood producer do to this movie in the late 90s? And I felt like one of the things we would see is there would be a lot more rules.
Yeah.
Everything would be much clearer.
Yes.
Because, look at movies like Men in Black came out like the same year or the year before, something like that, where you have it's kind of like this perfect example of there is a world happening that people don't know about. There's someone who knows everything about it, and there's someone who doesn't know everything about it, and that person explains to the other person everything about it.
Yeah.
And I kind of expected something like that, where there are a lot of rules and someone is going to explain all those rules. And that's kind of what we got.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we got.
They do have more jobs. The whole thing about them having the job of escorting people across the ethereal, like, doorway
to the other side,
whatever, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Threshold, when you step across the threshold. By the way, one of my notes for this was like, props to them for starting with a fucking gut punch.
Yeah,
like that's bold. I have respect for that.
I hated it.
And the whole beginning of the movie, like, it kind of matches the tone of Wings of Desire, because you don't know who anybody is.
You hear lots of people's thoughts.
Yeah.
I did praise them. If you remember the scene that she's like, the guy's like dying on the operating table and she's trying to save his life. I did praise them for like, good for them for like sticking with it and not being afraid to just like hold on this scene, because the whole operation took a long time.
Yeah.
And we didn't really have any context for what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Which I appreciated, because it wasn't too much information.
Well, I like character introduction through action rather than character introduction through exposition.
Sure.
Like, you don't meet Meg Ryan's character and have people go, that's Dr. Maggie Rice. She's not good with patients, and also she never lets a patient die on her table.
They did a little bit, but yes, I hear where you're coming from.
Yeah, but like instead we see her show up at the hospital, go into surgery, and like do everything she can to save this guy's life, even though he is dying on the table.
Yes.
And then she takes it very, very badly and tells the family. Like, we see her character actions.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like it's great. I'm just saying it like technically is good. It
Yes.
technically works.
Sure. Yeah. So,
And then the other thing I was going to say, as far as rules go, and you were talking about it, and this is where I jumped in, one of the other rules is that angels can be seen if they want to.
right.
Whereas the original movie is like, the only thing we know about them is that they can hear people's thoughts. Their job is to kind of observe all of us. And if they want to be human, they can, quote, fall.
Yeah.
And they are now human if they choose to do that.
Yeah.
Those are the only rules we know. Whereas this one is, oh no, all of those things are true, but also they escort people across the ethereal threshold, and they can be seen if they want to be seen.
Yeah.
And there's even more things that are introduced past that as well.
Yeah. And
like,
they hang out in the library just the same.
like if they want to be seen, but you try to take a picture of them, you can't take a picture
Can't
of
take
them.
a picture, but they can't feel anything. So like if you try to cut, like she tries to cut him at one point to like see what's going on with him, and like it doesn't.
Which is a fucking
cut him.
gamble.
She really, I mean, she's a surgeon, so like at least she knows how to cut people up, I guess. But like this movie also like has that sort of grand tradition of like 90s and before movies, or even now, with like someone wrote this movie that basically takes place in a hospital and is about surgeons, but did not bother to research how hospitals work or what surgeons do, and just kind of based it on probably what they had seen in previous other movies and TV, because I could not have
Nothing makes sense ever.
Nothing makes sense ever. I could not have been more distracted by the way that this woman was like living her life throughout. So first of all, she's like walking through the hospital. It's just like peeking indoors. There's like little children running all around. Like this is like the children's ward, right? Like there's all these kids and they all seem fine. And
there's some really cute stuff where they're like in every single room there's an angel that she can't see. And there's one where these kids are like watching TV and the angel is like watching TV with them and he's totally like enwrapped by the thing. I enjoyed a lot of that.
Yeah. That's fine. But then she makes her way down to like what is either the newborn baby nursery or possibly the NICU. We're not given to find out. If it's the newborn baby nursery, I wonder that anybody can just like wander in there, or really the NICU either. I feel like those are both places that are very locked down. But because her friend is a pediatrician who works with the babies. I don't know if she is a pediatrician who works with healthy babies or a neonatologist who works with sick babies. It is not given to us to understand.
I don't think the filmmakers knew. If you asked them, I don't think they'd have an answer.
But at one point, she like there's like a whole nursery full of babies, all asleep, I guess. And she just wanders in. No one is in there, and just like sits with the like, this is my happy place. Like this is where I come to relax. And then her friend comes in, and she's like, "Hey, how you doing? You come to see the babies? Look, we just got this baby today. He's crying.
We found him in a dumpster.
We found him in a dumpster, and that's why he's crying. He's the only baby that's crying."
The baby starts crying, and Meg Ryan goes, "What's
wrong with
him?"
He's a baby, which is what made me think it was a NICU and not like a normal baby nursery, because like her assumption was that something was wrong with him and not just like nothing's wrong with him. He was just born last night, I'm
just imagining like when we went through all of this when Calvin was born and we were in like, postpartum, and I saw the room where they keep the babies.
Yeah,
and
I never even saw it.
Yeah, I was in there because I would bring Calvin there and pick him up, and I met all the nurses and I saw them with the babies. Like I am cursed by, experience where I'm just imagining some fucking heart surgeon from another wing of the hospital showing up and going, "Hey, everybody," and them going, "Hello, yes, what can we do for you, doctor? I just want to hang out, with the babies, and I just want to see what their reaction would be in that moment, because I feel like it would be some combination of what are you talking about and get the fuck out." It wouldn't be, let's talk about this one baby we found in a dumpster.
It's a locked unit. You cannot get on that unit without like the right credentials. But also like the just like the ridiculous idea that there's one doctor taking care of all these babies and no nurses around. It's ridiculous. And then the baby starts crying and the doctor goes, "Oh," and goes and picks him up and like pats him on the back, and it's like simultaneously devaluing both the work of nurses and the work of doctors. It's like nurses aren't even in it. And I guess the job of a doctor who works with babies is just to pick up the baby and soothe it. Like, it made me so upset.
There was another scene later that does a similar kind of thing because Meg Ryan goes and visits Sipowicz
Yeah.
in his hospital room.
Yeah.
And he's not doing very well.
Yeah.
Like, he's choking on his tube. And the nurse is there. And Meg Ryan goes, like, there's a blockage in his tube. I'm pulling it out. And I looked at you like, first of all, the nurse would know more about that shit than the heart surgeon would.
Sure,
because the
she
heart
would.
surgeon's a fucking specialist. The nurse deals with this shit every day. And like, before she walks out, Meg Ryan goes like, and I want you to do this, and I want you to do this, and I want you to do this, and I want you to see the nurse just go like, I fucking know how to do my job. You don't know how to do my job. You don't know anything. You know nothing about my work.
Yes. So anyway, it was very upsetting. And also, like, I didn't understand, like, the thing with the baby. It never came back around. Like, oh, he was in a dumpster. Like, because she had this, like, vision.
She has an epiphany.
She has an epiphany of what's wrong with the baby, and she, like, runs to the hospital, and she's like, he can't sleep. He can't sleep. And the pediatrician, like, looks in his nose and goes, oh, he's got a blockage. Yeah, good call. It's like, okay, he had something that was wrong with him that was causing him to be very sick that could be diagnosed by looking in his nose.
We found this baby in a dumpster.
And we're given to understand no one's looked in his nose up to this point.
I want to look at the baby. I want to examine him. That's a good idea. You should examine the baby. I want to look at his feet. I want to look at his eyes. I think I'm going to look up at his nose. You get the fuck away from his nose.
Yeah,
Don't you dare look
Don't
at
look
his
up at
nose.
his nose.
There's nothing in that nose.
There's nothing in that nose.
Nothing we could possibly figure out.
Calvin I think knows what his nose is, but is just fucking with us because we say, where's your nose? And he will point to any other part of his face. He, like, points to his cheek.
Puts his hands in his mouth.
Yeah.
It's great.
Or, like, his neck. It's really cute. It's hard to describe, but it's really adorable.
Can I talk about Dr. Maggie Rice's feelings on death?
Yeah.
It veers wildly in this movie because she loses her patient at the beginning, the one that Nicolas Cage witnesses. We're doing a Nicolas Cage movie, by the way. This is super weird. I don't think we've ever done a Nicolas Cage movie before.
I mean, he hasn't really done that many adaptations, with the ironic exception of the movie adaptation.
Which, I think we've said this on the show before, but if
not, we're saying it now.
If anyone ever wonders if we're ever going to do the book adaptation, the movie adaptation, we are. It will be the last episode of this show.
Just let that settle.
Just know, like, whenever we actually do adaptation, the show will be over. That's what we are saving. Well, maybe we're moving on to something else or something like that.
Or
but
one
we
of
will,
us dies.
We will do the movie adaptation will be the last episode of this show ever.
Yeah.
So
we have a tontine about it.
Yeah, so this is our first Nicolas Cage movie. And ironically, he's not really very Nick Cagey.
Except at the end.
Well, no, once he becomes human, he goes full Nick Cage. Full on Nick Cage. The rest of the movie, I actually kind of loved his performance.
It's sort of a quiet tension.
He's so quiet and he's so childlike and he's so wide-eyed about everything. Apparently none of the angels blink in the course of the movie.
Oh.
And he trained himself not to blink.
Oh, God. Of course he did.
No, of course he did. And I kind of loved him in this. I loved Andre Braugher in this. I liked all the angels in this. Meg Ryan I didn't really care for in this movie, but that's not her fault. I didn't care for the character.
Yeah.
Because two things. One, all the medical stuff just feels like bullshit, as you say.
Yeah.
But the second thing is, as I was saying, her patient dies on the table. And she, like, tells the family he's dead, and as you said before, does it badly, and then she goes and cries in a stairwell, and she's talking to somebody. I think it might have been her boyfriend or one of the nurses or someone, and they say, patients die, and she goes, not on my table. First of all, show me a fucking surgeon, show me a respected surgeon that hasn't already accepted that some of their patients are gonna die.
Yeah, like, if you're a heart surgeon, like, some of your patients are gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to stop them from dying.
But but that's not her character at that moment. Her character is not willing to accept that. But then 20 minutes later, she's talking to her kind of boyfriend, and he's talking about losing someone, and she goes, sometimes patients just die. And that's kind of her thing for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But there's no reason for that change to have happened. And that just bugged me because Nicolas Cage's character was actually super consistent from the beginning of the movie to the end. Hers was not.
No, I liked Meg Ryan as a doctor a little bit, but only because like it occurred to me as we were watching that like if Mio B were to be played by anyone, it would be like 1998 Meg Ryan. Like 1998 Meg Ryan is definitely like the movie version. Yeah, I mean you've met. I won't say her name, but you've met Mio B
Yeah,
many
it's
times.
the hair.
Yeah, it's the hair.
Your Yobi has great hair.
She's much taller though. Meg Ryan would have to stand on a box.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know where I was going with this.
It doesn't matter. So let's keep going for a second. So Seth decides he does want to be with her. He finds out from Nathaniel from Dennis France. Dennis Sipowicz France. From TV detective Dennis France.
Can I just sidebar?
Yeah.
One of the things that we thought was really, really funny when I was pregnant was making up names for Calvin that were like like name, nickname, last name. So it would be like
Calvin Jean-Luc Picard.
Yes. No, it would be like Patrick Jean-Luc Picard Stuart Latour. So we were saying like that would be his name.
I remember that.
It was really funny.
It was pretty fun. So anyway, he's talking to Sipowicz a whole bunch, and Sipowicz is laying out all the rules and telling him about everything, and he tells him how he can become human, and he has to fall. And there's also all this stuff where, like, Meg Ryan is going to visit Sipowicz because she figures out something's weird with this Seth guy.
Yeah, so she's doing a house
call. He
call
can't
on
get
him.
hurt, you know. So she goes to they go to like a party at Sipowicz's house, and this is where they try to take a picture of Nick Cage, and when they look at the Polaroid, it's like Nick Cage and this little girl. Oh, kids can see them. That's something that's true in Wings of Desire and in City of Angels.
Sure.
Kids can see the angels. So it's like a little girl hugging just this like shaft of light. You know,
don't say shaft.
When you're referring to light, shaft is okay and not sexual at all.
Very unpleasant scene.
Anyway, but Nicolas Cage decides he's going to take the fall, so he jumps off a building and becomes human, and he hits the bottom, and then Ron Swanson is one of the fucking construction
You're
workers.
not lying.
But there's one of the things that's really nice is that when he's falling, we see his memories.
Yeah.
He sees him witnessing things, and all of those memories are black and white. So in that moment, what they're telling you is that the angels see in black and white, because when he becomes human, suddenly color seems to be very new to him.
Yeah.
And it's nowhere near as overt or clear as it was in Wings of Desire, which is weird. It's weird that like Wings of Desire leads less of this up to interpretation.
Sure.
City of Angels is really trying to do, because of course City of Angels couldn't be in black and white.
Right.
There's no way they would have let it be in black and white. Although I was reading something where Brad Silberling was talking about how much leeway they had making this movie, because apparently in 1998 they made it at Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers only gave a shit about Batman, and he said Warner Brothers just cared. All they were doing was focusing on the new Batman movies. We just did whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
We didn't really have the studio breathing down our neck. So he takes the fall. He is now full-on Nick Cage, experiencing life to the fullest, and he goes to find her.
Yes, and we're coming up on a scene that made me very uncomfortable. But first of all, Jeremy thinks
because I have more to say before we get to the sex scene.
Jeremy thinks I'm going to make fun of him by saying this. I'm not making fun of him at all. I thought it was really funny.
I'm perfectly content. You say whatever you want.
So,
I am fine.
So a song starts to play, a song that I knew well. And Jeremy goes, who is this like Sarah McLachlan or something? And I looked at him like, are you actually crazy? Like, yeah, of course it's
would
Sarah
be
McLachlan.
Like, the way you looked at me, it was as if a song started playing and you just heard someone go, yesterday, and someone going, is that Paul McCartney?
Yeah. And but the thing that made me laugh was that you reached for your phone as if to Google it. And I was like, no, it's Sarah McLachlan. I'm familiar with this song. And then the chorus starts and you were like, this is the song from the SPCA commercials. I don't know why I'm saying it like you're like a bro.
I don't fucking talk like that.
But
I don't talk like that.
It was just funny that like I knew the song from the very first chord and you didn't quite
I only know the chorus.
Recognize it until the chorus.
There's lots of songs you only know the chorus to.
Yeah, that's true. Not this one.
I don't know why I'm defending myself. I said I was fine. I'm fine.
So he falls to Earth. He's now human. He can feel feelings.
He can feel feelings. He does one thing that I think is so important to talk about, if only for a moment. We get a sense of the privilege of what it must be to be Nicolas Cage, because he goes to the hospital to find Maggie, and he's looking like a fucking goddamn injured crazy person.
Yeah.
He sees her friend Anne, the doctor from the
baby
nurse,
doctor.
you know, the baby doctor, and he sees her. He goes, "Could you help me find her?" He's acting like full on Nick Cage at this point, and she goes, "You know what? You got a nice face.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where she is. She's at her cabin on Tahoe." Like, why the fuck did she tell him anything?
Yeah. On the Nevada side.
I just wonder if it was Andre Brower that fell in love with her and came there. I don't know that everyone would be helping him as much.
Probably not. Although he might have been more polite.
I mean,
because he's Andre Brower.
he is.
Anyway, so yeah, so
then he finds her to the Goo Goo Dolls.
Then he finds her to the Goo Goo Dolls.
There's a cool like solo acoustic version of Iris.
Oh god.
That Johnny Nick is playing over the movie as he's trying to find her, and he's hitching rides and getting real sad and gross.
We were just laughing because we were we were trying to figure out like what parts of the human experience he like understood and which ones he didn't. So he finally shows up at her door and he's like, something inside me feels uncomfortable. And we're like, our idea was that she was like, do you have to pee? And he's like, I don't know. What's that? Something feels bad.
I always respected people's privacy, and that room seemed very private, so I never walked in while people were in there.
But our thought was what you as you so beautifully pointed out to me was, well, people die on the toilet.
He should know about these things, is what I'm saying. Some angel had to be standing there
so
poetically putting their arm on Elvis Presley's shoulder after he shit himself to death in the rhinestone jumpsuit.
This hysterical laughter is all born out of a deep-seated fear of death. So then they have a sex scene. And again, my nervous laughter.
She fully does him.
My nervous laughter is partly because I hated this sex scene so much because she was he's never experienced sensation before, so like a lot of it was him sort of describing, like using words to describe what sex feels like, and I didn't like it.
And then we see Nicolas Cage's O face. And I don't want to see Nick Cage's O face.
I was like cringing. Jeremy just looks at me and goes, "Yeah, it's not pleasant.
It's no good.
It's no good." And then, oh my god, I've lost it.
And then there was this moment where I looked at you and I said, "There's still like 25 minutes left in the movie, and they're together. I have a feeling something bad is going to happen."
And then I said, so it's the next morning, right? And he's like in the shower and he's like experiencing all these new sensations. And I
like a hot shower.
Yeah, and I was like, what if he just drank some poison and died?
No, he's like smelling different perfumes and stuff like that.
What if he just drank drain cleaner and died, and that's the end of the movie?
And just his buddy shows up and goes, "I guess I'm escorting you across the threshold."
Like, shit.
You fucking dummy.
But of course he does not die. It is, of course, as always, the sexually liberated woman with her own career who has to be punished and die, and she gets hit by a truck and dies.
Their young love is cut short tragically. Which
their middle-aged love.
Like, honestly, because of what I know of Rebecca Schaefer and Brad Silberling's
you
relationship,
hate to laugh.
Like, I actually feel fucking terrible making fun of this, because how could it not be personal? You know? And I say that, yes, we've been joking. We've been having our fun. But, like, I'm saying that completely seriously.
Yeah,
like,
no, I get it.
It has to be intentional. Whether he pushed for it to be in the movie, you know, aside, I don't know that. But can you imagine having to be on set that day and having to shoot this scene and telling Nick Cage, here's your motivation for this woman that you have been in a very short relationship with being cut. She runs into a truck. She is on her bike.
Like the shortest truck
It's
in the
a really
world.
short log truck. It looks like it should be an 18-wheeler, but then it stops about 15 feet in, and it's just carrying logs, and she's on her bike going apparently very fast, but it's in slow motion, so you don't really get a sense of it. And then she opens her eyes and sees the truck and just goes, and then Nick Cage is sitting at the table in her house, and a candle gets blown out. And then he goes and runs and finds her on the road, and she's like, "Hi, hey, what's going on? How you doing? I'm speaking very clearly right now. I'm probably losing a lot of blood. Oh, I think I might be dead."
And then she is.
And then she is dead, and he has to be sad. Like, again, in all seriousness, Brad Silberling directing that scene must be hard. But then there's still 15 minutes of movie left.
Yeah, so then he like goes into this deep grieving.
How do you know he's grieving?
Oh, there's a song.
Is there a song?
Yes.
What's it called?
Grieving.
Isn't it called like I Grieve or something like that?
Something like this.
Hang on, I'm not going to look it up.
It's fine.
It's a Peter Gabriel song, and the refrain is just I grieve.
I grieve.
Because of course it is.
Because of his grief.
Mm-hmm. When does the Alanis Morissette song play? Is that over the credits?
It's the credits.
Uninvited?
Uninvited is the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The soundtrack's amazing.
it's amazing. Like the soundtrack fucking slaps.
As far as soundtracks go, it's an amazing soundtrack. The use of the songs in the movie I kind of hate because they're all so on the nose.
So I did not quite understand the ending. So I'm asking you.
Okay.
Is the implication that he has gone back to be with the angels, or is the implication that he has found joy in his life now here on Earth?
I think it's the second one.
That one.
Yeah, because he like is grieving and there's a funeral and he's only gotten to be with her for one night. And
one passionate night.
Yeah, so he's in her house. I think the implication is that it's her house that he lives in now.
Which I'd be curious what her boyfriend has to say about it, but anyway, go on.
I don't know. But anyway, his buddy Raymond Holt shows up and says, I'm going to make myself appear to you because now you are now you are human and cannot see me as an angel. And he's talking to him like, how could this happen? Was it you? Was it you that took her? Because he knows that someone had to take her. And he goes, no, it wasn't me. And they talk. And honestly, I can't remember anything they talked about because nothing they say is very memorable.
Yeah, that's kind of why
important.
I'm unclear on the ending, because I think maybe if we remembered what they talked about in that scene, it would be clearer to us.
But I do remember that what they talk about revolves around what is life, what is grieving, what is happiness, like are we here to die, that kind of thing.
Et cetera, et cetera.
And it seems to be that the message of the movie is well, the thing about life is living.
Yeah.
And living is sometimes easy and sometimes it's fun and sometimes you can make your O face and sometimes it's really hard and you have to watch Meg Ryan die.
Yeah.
Like that's all life. And so then at the very end of the movie, something we have seen multiple times in the movie is that every day at sunrise and sunset, all of the angels gather on the beach to watch the sunrise and set. And
sing together.
And well, we don't know that they're singing.
No, they're listening to the heavenly chorus.
They're listening to the score.
Yes.
And there's at one point in the movie, he's at the beach with Sipowicz, and Sipowicz is like, fuck all these angels. I'm going to go swimming naked because I'm going to feel something. So we have to see Dennis Franz's butt, which I don't know.
Which famously, I think we did see on NYPD Blue, didn't we?
I'm pretty sure that was a thing,
famous butt shot.
And I don't know. I feel like I'd rather, you know what? Yes, I'd rather see Franz's butt than Cage's O-face.
Yeah.
It was less unpleasant.
I'd rather see nudity than boning.
Yeah.
At any time.
So then Seth has his moment where he is at the beach and all the angels are there. He can't see them, obviously. And he goes, I'm going to feel something. And he goes into the ocean and he kind of gives himself up to life and feeling and takes all of it in, knowing I am alive and the pain that I feel is part of living. And that is how it ends. But I had this moment where I thought maybe he died and he's an angel again because his clothes, he was wearing like a Canadian tuxedo, but all the denim got really dark because he was in the water, so it looked like he was wearing his black angel clothes again.
And that's what I asked you and I was confused by, and you were like, well, he's wearing dark clothes, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
I think it is literally just supposed to mean like now he's living.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't think he becomes an angel again at the end.
Yeah.
And then the movie's over and we get to hear Uninvited by Alanis Morissette.
Which is a song again.
It's also a very good song.
Fucking slaps. The end?
The end. So I guess like kind of looking back, Wings of Desire, like I kind of loved it, and it's an experience.
Yeah.
And a beautifully made movie that kind of defies conversation.
Yeah.
If you want to find things in it, you can do that, but understand you're like projecting.
Yeah.
City of Angels, can I give you my biggest criticism?
Yeah.
I don't think it made a clear enough decision for what it wanted to be.
Yeah.
It could have been one of two things. It could have been, on the one hand, like Wings of Desire, deeply thoughtful and artistic and not necessarily accessible.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other end, it could have been, a romantic version of Men in Black. Like it could have just been go Hollywood all the way.
Yeah.
I feel like it was trying to be both. It was trying to be both Hollywood and still very artistic and thoughtful. And I kind of wish it had just looked at it and said, we're just not going to do Wings of Desire at all. We're going to take this idea because it's a cool idea and a really good subject for like a romantic movie. Regardless of what it is, it doesn't diminish Wings of Desire. Like, say whatever you will about City of Angels, Wings of Desire is no less a great movie because City of Angels got made, no matter what City of Angels ends up being. I just wish they had aimed for something rather than trying to do all of it.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
It does make sense.
What did you think of it when all is said and done?
I hated it.
You hated it? What did you think of Wings of Desire?
I thought it was very interesting.
What did you? And you hated City of
I
Angels.
did not like City of Angels.
I kind of enjoyed it. I enjoyed it until the third act. Once she
Yeah.
dies, I didn't care anymore.
No, it wasn't like horrible to watch. It wasn't like uncomfortable. Well, no, I take it back. It was uncomfortable. Yes, that's part of why I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable to watch. I didn't care to watch it. There was a lot of things in it that I did not like, and was confused by and did not enjoy. So I'm gonna say no to City of Angels.
Okay, so did they care about the source material, Wings of Desire?
It seems like they did.
Deeply.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like Brad Silberling was like, and they talked to vendors. He read the script. He gave them positive feedback. Like, he was involved.
Yeah.
In a. It wasn't like they were saying we have this thing and it's ours now.
Sure.
Like, Brad Silberling, I think, had a lot of respect for vendors in Wings of Desire.
Yeah.
Was it successful?
No.
No, it's not. It's not.
No.
I don't think it's terrible. There's stuff I like in it, but it's not successful.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that we get to do these little episodes.
Yeah.
It's just movie in a movie. And I feel like that it allows me kind of mentally to do the bigger episodes, to know that every now and then we can just watch 2 movies and talk about them.
Sure. Yeah, it's true. It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah. Well, this has been Adapter Parish. If you'd like to find us online, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AdaptCast. You can join our groups on Facebook and Goodreads, and you can also find and follow me on Letterboxd. If you have anything to say that's longer than a tweet, you can always send an email to adapterparishcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the show, there are 3 great ways you can do it. First, tell a friend. Second, a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice would be greatly appreciated. Third, we are on Patreon. This show will always be free, but if you become a patron, you can get access to Adapter Parish Plus, our bonus show that releases every other week between episodes of this show, and our patron-only Slack community. It's been a lot of fun, and all the details are at patreon.com/adaptcast.
All right, you want to do this? You want to sing us out? 1, 2, 3.
And I
I'd
don't
give up
want the
forever
world. Oh, I was going to do the
touch
chorus.
you, 'cause I know that you feel me somehow. You're the closest to heaven that I'll
She's going to go for an
ever
hour.
be.
We'll
And
see
I
you in 2 weeks,
don't
everybody.
wanna
Bye.
go